Hey everyone, Doug and PA back with another video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button on the way in. I'd really appreciate it. It shows that you support me and the content on this channel. Now you might be asking yourself, Doug and PA, why do you keep covering these black media members saying bad things about Coach Prime, the great Deion Sanders, moving from Jackson State University to University of Colorado? First question. Second question you might be asking, where do you find these people? Well, answering question number one, I think that the Deion Sanders situation shines light on a bigger issue in Black America about success. In my opinion, if Deion Sanders is winning in a coaching role, we're all winning. If he was winning at Jackson State University, we were all winning. If he goes to the University of Colorado, we're all winning. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I don't know how we got the lines crossed on that. And once again, I said it before on my other videos, I'll say it here. We support Coach Prime on this side of YouTube. Number two, I'm a casual sports news fan. I catch stuff on ESPN or national headlines, but sports media is a large business. And there's a lot of different corners, and I'm trying to find people that you may have never heard of before. I covered Bomani Jones, what he had to say. I covered Devin Wade down in Texas. And now we're going to cover LA Times sports and culture critic Tyler Tynes. You can get paid to be a sports and culture critic, I guess. He was on NPR doing an interview, and this is a transcript from the interview. So we're going to go through what he had to say about Coach Prime. This is called HBCUs ponder a prime exit after football coach Deion Sanders leaves Jackson State. NPR Joanna Sanders talks with LA sports and culture critic Tyler Tynes, that title, about football coach Deion Sanders' consequential departure from Jackson State University to the University of Colorado. The host starts, when former NFL star Deion Sanders first broke into coaching college football, he made what seemed like an unusual choice. He took a coaching job at Jackson State University, a lower division team with a losing record in the decades before Sanders. This year, though, JSU came away with a 12-0 record, and that winning streak has brought a national spotlight to HBCU athletics. But next year, things will be different. So she plays a soundbite of Deion Sanders. She continues, that's what Sanders told his players at Jackson State University upon taking the head coaching job. The University of Colorado, a school in one of the top 5 conferences for college football. LA Times sports culture critic Tyler Tynes joins us now, and then she introduces him. She says, hey, so to start, if you could, just give us your gut reaction when you heard the news that Sanders was leaving Jackson State for Colorado. Tynes says, I think on its face, it's not that big of a deal, right? No, Tyler, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. You know, a man takes a job, gets a better job in some respects, and he gets a bigger pay raise. Now listen carefully, guys. But when you're a head coach at an HBCU, it comes with sometimes a bigger commitment, right? It's not only to these players, it's to this community, to the teachers, and to the fans that go back decades, to our traditions and everything else. And so when you leave Jackson State, especially after you sold a very specific dream, it's going to come with a fervor like no other. This is that same old tired argument that the traditions of HBCUs and what Deion Sanders owes to the community should have been enough for him to stay. And no, culture doesn't pay bills. Tradition doesn't pay bills. And for the students, culture doesn't get you a pro contract. Tradition doesn't either. Summer says, so for people who don't follow college football as closely as you and I do, talk about what that dream is that Deion Sanders, that Coach Prime sold to his school. What did he give to them? Tynes says, he gave them a dream like any coach would. He said that God brought him to Jackson State to revive HBCU football. And listen, depending on how you think about football, Deion Sanders made good on his dream. ESPN came down. The whole world watched college football in the South in a way they hadn't in many years. But anytime a college football coach leaves an HBCU, particularly for a PWI, and she outlines what a PWI means, predominantly white institution, Tynes says it's going to ruffle a few feathers. So we got to ask ourselves, why is that? And he's kind of excusing the backlash, like, well, Coach Prime should have known he was going to get all this hate. Come on, buddy. No, ain't happening. Summer says, in the days since Deion Sanders announced that he was leaving Jackson State for Colorado, there have been some people who have been critical of him for turning his back on HBCUs. They've suggested perhaps even turning his back on black people. Is that a fair criticism to you? And the host of NPR has noticed this trend. It's that bad that a person that works for NPR is asking this LA Times sports culture critic, did Deion Sanders turn his back on black people? This is the clown world that we're living in. Tynes says, I think anytime we run the risk of calling a man a sellout before we actually get there, it's dangerous. Well, thank you, Tyler. We don't really know what Deion's motivations are yet. Actually, yeah, we do. Deion Sanders wants to win, and he wants to get compensated properly for what he's bringing to the table. So we do understand his motivations. You don't. He says, we don't really know what Deion's motivations are yet, though in the past, Deion's motivations have been Deion. So when the idea is that you've gone to historically black college to sell a dream of prosperity and bring them back to glory, I think it might be fair criticism to think he's done something wrong, especially in the way that he left Jackson State and the way he's talked to both his new players and old players. There's fair game on Deion Sanders all around. Whether he sold out black people or not, I think is a stretch too far. So he goes just short of calling Deion Sanders a sellout. He says that he left the wrong way. He should have stayed and worked pretty much for free at Jackson State. And Coach Prime pretty much didn't give the black community what Tynes felt the black community deserved. So you may not have called them a sellout, but you still went a little too far. Summers continues, you documented a time when the best black players in the sport would sometimes opt to play for the best black coaches at HBCUs, but the college football landscape has changed since then. What do you think would need to happen for HBCUs to retain national level talent today? Yeah, Tyler, what do you think? Tynes says, we'd have to have a new sport. I would love nothing more than for every HBCU in the world to be able to go toe-to-toe with the best PWIs, the best Power Fives in the country. But the reality is that between certain legalese in our country and also certain roadblocks when it comes to football, our HBCUs have been stripped of their power. And that power is not coming back in most cases. Though we do think that a lot of these recruits could and should choose HBCUs over some other schools, I think it's wrong sometimes to ask teenagers to make decisions like that. Exactly. Like I said earlier, tradition don't pay the bills. Culture doesn't pay the bills. Tradition doesn't get you a pro contract. Culture doesn't either. And that's not going to change anytime soon. The students shouldn't be asked to make that kind of sacrifice. And guess what? Coaches shouldn't either. Summers says, black players are now the majority of top-level college football players, and they're often the superstars who show up on ESPN no matter what school they're playing for. But black head coaches, those are far more rare in college football, let alone the NFL. So do you think Deion Sanders' hiring opens any doors there? Before he answers, I'm going to say yes. Think about music. Some of your best artists created lanes for other artists to follow in their footsteps. Your favorite artists today can name the artists that opened the lane for them. And that's going to be the same with sports. And coaching, we need black men and I would say women to pave different paths in sports for other black coaches to get hired. Tynes says, anytime a black coach can get a head coaching job at a predominantly white university, it's a very, very, very big step one way or the other. I don't know what Deion's hiring is going to do in terms of the ripples and effects of college football. I hope it means that more black folks get hired at the minimum. Someone says, Tyler Tynes is a sport culture critic. That title, yikes. For Los Angeles Times, she thanks Tyler for being on. So I kind of like what Tyler said, where he says he hopes that Coach Prime's hiring at University of Colorado gets other people hired. I think that's what's going to happen. But earlier in this article, in this interview, Tyler said that he thinks that Coach Prime left the wrong way and pretty much made the wrong decision. So I'm not understanding how he ended this interview. You hope that other coaches can get hired because up to Deion's hiring, but then you think him leaving was wrong. Which one is it? Let me know what you think about what our guy at the LA Times, Mr. Sports and Culture Critic, had to say. I really like the comments on these videos because to me, it feels like we're all kind of sitting around the table having a conversation about this. I read all the comments. So make sure to hit the like, subscribe, drop a comment, and I will catch you on the next one.